from the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to a special episode of Pixelated Paranormal. And right now, we're not going to be doing part 2 of the Thieves in the Night series on this episode, mainly because Presto and I just don't have time between now and the upcoming trip to Omaha for the Rock Your Beard Off beard mustache competition up there with the Omaha Facial Hair Society and Big Knobs and everybody.
We're gonna have a surprise that we're gonna do the night before. I don't know if we actually told the listeners about that yet.
I don't know that we can yet, but after the fact, we'll be able to.
Yeah, we got something in the can special.
Right. Time to really finish up the research we need between last week and tonight to record this. So we're going to do another one of the old pit stops. And pit stop episodes are basically where we have nothing to talk about or haven't had enough time to research, and we just talk about other random stuff. Could be news, could be useful babble, useless babble, in fact.
Yeah.
But
tonight's random story that I have no idea how to fit into a show, so I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it by myself.
Yeah, the side cuts. Yeah. Well, the episode tonight is going to be pretty special because we are recording on April 7th on Sunday evening, and it's a special evening because, number one, it is Jackie Chan's birthday.
Happy birthday, Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Is that your anniversary then?
It is, of sorts, yeah. 19 years ago today, I asked Shayla to be my girlfriend.
Oh.
So, yeah, we've been together for 19 years.
Whoop, whoop.
Boy. And then on top of that, according to Twitter, it is National Beer Day. And so we want to do a special episode tonight. Yeah, cheers. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Boulevard's Bully Porter. In lieu of the 3 bully dogs that I own, so
right. Hell yeah, cheers to that. I'm drinking a Rogue Brewing Rhubarb Schmoobarb, which is a strawberry and rhubarb. I think it's like a sour or just an ale. And it's pretty just okay.
Yeah.
I've had much worse. I've had a lot better, but I've had much worse, so hell yeah. But yeah, so today is National Beer Day, so we thought we'd jump on and do a little shorter of a show about beer. And if you're not into beer and you think to yourself, this is not really my jam, we will not look at you. We won't look down on you if you decide to jump off and not finish this episode out, because we're going to work a little paranormal into it here and there, but it's going to be a lot about, beer, some beer facts, some stuff in the news about beer. Oh, me editing out that burp. And, we might bring it back around to some paranormal stuff, but primarily it's going to be fun and interesting and weird facts about beer. So feel free, if this is not your thing, go ahead and jump on out, catch us again. We'll be back on next week for our next episode of the Thieves in the Night series, episode part 2 in that. So, but we hope you do stay, because we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And
I think it's going to be a good one. Like, now that we're actually 91 episodes in, and we've been doing this for 2-3 years now.
Yeah, we're just shy of 3 years.
Yeah, we're just shy of these episodes are actually coming together better, and they're more coherent. And if I do say so myself, they're grade A, kick-ass, podcasts. So
there's worse podcasts out there.
There's way worse podcasts out there. Trust me, I've listened to them. So
Right. And something else kind of cool that we're doing, this episode also is going to be a little bit of a, I guess you say a tester or an experiment. And Preston is working on trying to see if we can live stream these episodes, or at least do an unedited video of this to post up on YouTube. So you might get those episodes a little quicker.
Tinfoil hat, rabbit hole, Stephen, or Richard Jerome, people out there.
Richard Jerome, Tinfoil Hat Society.
Yeah, you get a special cut of the show if this works. So
yeah, it could be kind of fun. It could diminish the return we get on YouTube, or on iTunes, if people start going to YouTube for this. But yeah, we're hoping to be able to video this and actually stream it on YouTube, so that way there's more of a a payoff to actually listen on YouTube or to watch on YouTube. So and you get to see what our recording spaces look like too. Mine is across a creepy library and a greenhouse of sorts, and you can see my closet in the back, my sport coat hanging up.
I got party lights going on in the back. So.
Right. Yeah. Yours are kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese. It looks like there's like a basketball goal in the back of that door, and hell yeah, where a kid can be a kid.
That's right.
And you guys will also be able to see how much I mess around with my beard while we record. Apparently, it's going to be a lot. Hey, you kept the mustache.
No, I left it on for right now, so I'm debating on do I want to...
I'd leave it on, dude. Curl it up.
Yeah. Because I was debating on do I want to chop it all the way off and just go full Abe Lincoln, or do I want to leave this sleazy pirate stash?
I'd go sleazy pirate stash.
Yeah. All right. That's what
I
we're
like
gonna roll with.
You look like a vampire and a pirate. I'd call you a vampirate.
I like it. Hard.
I think if anybody can pull off that kind of cool, twisted, curled up mustache, it'd be you.
Yeah. I try.
Yeah, and it shows. Well, let's get after it. So the first bit of news is not going to be about beer, but it's going to be about another vice. It's been said for many, many decades now that smoking can definitely kill you. And as of now, vaping, God, you're such a douche. Preston's just blowing clouds right as we're recording.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that vaping is under the same scrutiny and that the FDA has not come out and said that it's safe. They haven't come out and said that it's completely, detrimental to your health. But vaping may actually be more harmful than you think. And in this story, I'm going to prove to you guys that vaping can indeed kill you. So we all know that these vape shops are just popping up left and right like fucking dandelions across the cityscapes. But here in Wichita, we have a chain of vape shops, and this is not a plug. They're called Big E's Vape, or something to that effect. But the owner of Big E's and some other vape shops across Kansas and Oklahoma has been arrested in a murder plot for potentially hiring a hitman to kill a former employee.
And girlfriend, don't forget that.
Oh, I'll get to that part.
Oh, okay.
The co-owner of more than a dozen vape shops in Kansas and Oklahoma has recently been arrested in a plot to kill a former employee and her boyfriend. According to an affidavit, 69-year-old Vernon Brock attempted to hire a hitman from Harper, Kansas, to commit murders in Oklahoma City, so says the affidavit. It says that he was upset with a former employee because she decided she no longer wanted to have a sexual relationship with him. So he thought, what better way to punish her than drive to Harper, Kansas, pay some dude $5,000 and have him kill the girl and her boyfriend, all because this guy's a skeezy douchebag and the lady doesn't want to have intercourse with him anymore. So apparently the business partner who he went to in Harper went to the FBI office in Wichita and turned him in. Well, now, this isn't clear. I don't know if it was the business partner who he went to or the business partner found out about the hit.
So, what I read like a couple different articles on it, and the one that I read said that his business partner is associated with a biker gang or is in a biker club, motorcycle club. So he just assumed by association that he would know somebody who could perform the hit. And was going to pay him to pay them so that it wouldn't get traced back to him. So he was giving him a check from the company, so Big E's Vape Company, with on the memo for a loan, so he could cast a check for the loan and then pay the hitman $5,000. Now, the article that I read said that he didn't want to kill the ex-girlfriend. He actually just wanted to rough her up, but then to shoot the boyfriend in front of her so that she would get the message loud and clear that she does, in fact, need to come back to Big Papa. So,
Wow.
yeah.
What a douchebag. Well, if he is found guilty, he'll be looking at potentially 10 years in prison and a fine of $250,000, as well as, 3 years of suspended release, supervised release if he gets out. And the guy's already gone to prison for 18 months for 3 convictions of mail fraud back in like 1996. So...
And the best part about this story was on Facebook, like all the comments, and it was one of them was that you think that they should make a flavor called the Hitman, and then my other favorite one was from another company here in Wichita called Puffs, and they wrote on there, Puffs, come into our Wichita shop where we guarantee that we won't not only kill you or our employees, and we have the best prices in town. I was just like, dude, that's fucking classic right there.
Yeah. There's another one where it's like, so-and-so's vaping are 2 commitments to customers. Number 1, the most quality vape juices at the lowest prices. Number 2, we will not try to kill you. What the hell? Yeah, and I like Steve's comment to us. He looks like a dollar store version of Ermin Trow from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Well, from vaping to our first booze-related story, we're going to flip the switch on the old wives' tale that beer is bad for you, because there's a guy in Ohio who's using beer to help himself lose weight and get back in shape during Lent.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, boy. Usually people give up stuff like vices for Lent, especially beer. But this guy is actually using beer to help him lose weight. This gentleman here, whose name I just lost. How in the sweet hell? Oh, sorry. Dale Hall from Ohio said back in February he will be doing nothing but drinking beer for the 46 days of Lent. He will give up food and everything else and just simply drink beer and water as well for 46 days. He says he will have an assortment of beer for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Hall says he's following the lead of monks from the 1600s who would fast during the season by a Bock beer diet. And he said it makes sense because beer essentially is kind of like liquid bread. It's just full of, carbs.
Yeah,
so it'd be the same thing.
So,
oh yeah, buddy, the darker the better.
Yeah.
Yep. He said their liquid diet would be beer. Basically, it would sustain them through 46 days of Lent. He said he will be documenting this on social media and also will be tracking his weight. He said he has the same game plan as the monk and wants to see if he can prove to himself it's possible. He says, quote, I'm an Army veteran. I was number 1 in my class in the Army. I've run a full marathon before, 2.6 miles. I've done big challenges, but this seems very daunting, and so I'm just curious if I'm up for the challenge, if I'm going to be able to do it or not. He says he will also be drinking water during this challenge as well, and he will be checking in regularly with a doctor to keep things monitored. And if you listen closely, you can hear my dog snoring in the background. So what do you think, dude? Is that possible? You know more than I do because you're a historian. Did monks really do that?
Yeah. That's why in Germany. And so that's why there is a actual recipes called like Monk's Brew, which is like a red Bavarian ale. I tried to make it one time, and I had no idea what the fuck went wrong, but it smelled like, like when you go to like Walmart, Lowe's, or Home Depot during like springtime when they're just now putting out like the fertilizers like Weed Be Gone and all that. Yeah. My beer tasted like how that aisle smells in those stores. Like it should have been renamed Preston's Weed Killer because it tasted so bad. I don't know what I did wrong. Maybe that's how it's supposed to taste, and I did it right, and that's what they sustained on. But that is a thing. So monks really did do that. So
hang on, Luna. Hey, my cat is laying here next to my dog, licking her behind the ears, and my dog's just snoring like a walrus while she's being groomed. Oh, well, if beer isn't cool enough because it can help you lose weight, there's also another really, really cool thing that you can do with beer now. Apparently, you've been able to do it for a long time, but we'll get to that in a minute. The brewery known as Dogfish Head has teamed up with Kodak to make a beer that you can both drink and also use to develop your Super 8 camera film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you and I talked about it a little bit a couple days ago or a week ago or whatever, but it says on Mental Floss and countless other articles, as digital technology has advanced and smartphones have become, ubiquitous, that's a $10 word, the Super 8 movie camera of the 1960s, 70s, and 80s has practically disappeared. So Dogfish Head and Kodak are collaborating on a product that will make the format a lot more convenient for modern amateur filmmakers. So you can still get Super 8 cameras, you can still get the film. It's just hard to find somewhere that will actually do your processing of your film. So what's really interesting here is Dogfish Head has decided that they're going to bring back. Oh, hang on a second. Rob just texted me. Dogfish Head is going to do something they heard about from back in the 70s and 80s. They're going to make a beer you can use to develop your film. And they said it's not the first time it's been done before. Beer has actually been used, decades ago. Certain beers with high acidity contents and vitamin C content can actually be used to develop old-fashioned film. And following this conversation, they decided to join up with Dogfish Head. They decided to join up with Kodak and create a very special beer for that purpose. The new beer, called Super 8, is a sour German-style wheat beer, 5.3 alcohol content, with key ingredients: blackberry, boysenberry, elderberry, raspberry, kiwi, mango, prickly pear, quinoa, and Hawaiian sea salt. Man, that's a lot of flavors, isn't it?
Holy shit.
Yeah, it sounds delicious.
Hit you with
and they say it has a slightly tart taste, pleasantly refreshing finish, as well as delicious flavors of multiple berries, and also a hint of watermelon. And it says if imbibers can resist drinking all of it, they can use some to develop home movies. And apparently, I'm going to try to put a link to this on our next post. There is a video they shot and developed in their beer you can watch as well.
Holy shit.
And that was posted at the very beginning of April, so it should be hitting stores, I would think, rather soon. So hopefully we'll be able to get some of that and try it out sooner rather than later. And I was kind of nervous, too, because when I read that, and something you kind of hinted at, too, it sounded like it was going to be something very, very caustic, like drinking a bunch of chemicals. So that's actually a really cool factoid. It's just the vitamin C and the acid content that allows it to do that.
I was actually taught when developing like regular black, like 35 millimeter black and white film. So the stop additive or the stop development that you add in after you actually put the developer in and everything.
Yeah.
That chemical is super expensive, and you can actually just use vinegar. So whenever just household white vinegar, the acidity in the vinegar will actually stop the production of the developer chemicals for black and white film. So there's actually a lot of household products that you can use to develop and, that process and everything. So.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I know there's a photographer I know who used to have a mobile lab set up back in the 70s and 80s where he just had a van and the back of it was just hollowed out with a bed and, some chair and whatnot. And he would go places and contract to do filming for, different, whether it was video or just actual photography. Yeah. And when he got done, they'd finish up. He'd go out to his van. He'd cook himself some food on a little hot plate. And then he would just sit there and develop his film in his van, so kind of a mobile dark room. So I don't know if he was I'll have to ask him if he was using beer back then or if he was just using chemicals, but pretty rad nonetheless. So yeah. Well, we wanted to kind of try to bring the into this a bit. So Preston, what do you have for us as far as beer and paranormal amalgams?
So I'm actually bringing the listeners tonight like a new segment, because we've been joking around the last couple ones, that our new segment is going to be the Pixelated Paranormal Historic Hour. That's right, folks. I'm bringing you all the historical facts you didn't know that you didn't want to know. Oh, I don't know if that sounds right, but maybe you didn't want to know. So
that's what's great about the potential for this video.
Yeah.
a fair bit of editing, not a whole lot, but there are times we get tongue-tied, get lost, or a dog snores in the background, and nobody hears that.
Yeah. In the buff, so to speak. All right, so tonight's episode is all about the beer and how booze and the paranormal have a long, deep, connecting relationship. So, for example, alcohol has been a long symbol of divine importance in Western religions, such as Christianity, Catholicism, and Judaism, and has long been seen as a representation of beings beyond our existence. The Aztecs...
Back up just a little bit from your mic. You're getting a little crackly.
Like that? Okay. So the Aztecs were well aware of the properties of alcohol known as octli or pelique, and it was necessary as a component of the worship of the lunar and terrestrial gods known as Sintzan and Totochitin. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but we're going to roll with it.
It sounds good to me.
Sounds good. To the ancient Egyptians, wine was an expensive commodity drunk by those who could afford it, which wasn't many, and it was used in burial rites and traditions. Now, the consumption of alcohol in Egypt, which was primarily beer and wine, was most often associated with Osiris, the god of resurrection, as he was the god worshipped the most abundantly. Offerings of alcohol were made to Osiris at times of special events or occasions, with the belief that upon dying, as an individual travels to the afterlife, it was accompanied by the belief that one would take their possessions with them. And do you know what the most popular carry-on luggage to the interlife travelers were, Sean?
Booze.
Beer! And lots of it. So, in modern spiritualism...
You gotta keep on backing up. You keep on backing up and talking loud, and then end up getting closer to your mic. Pull your windscreen back just a little bit. Is that towards you or away from you?
There.
No, your windscreen comes closer to your mouth. That way you don't get, deep throat your mic.
How about that right there?
That's pretty good. The idea is to stay away from your mic a little ways and just talk at a normal
Jesus Christ, YouTube. You're getting the...
Yeah. You're getting the times when Sean berates Preston and makes him almost cry.
You're getting the hard cuts tonight. All right.
Yeah.
Modern spiritualism. Alcohol is generally viewed as one of two things: a gateway substance which allows demonic possessions of the drinker, or it is a source of positive and negative energies surrounding multiple dimensions. In this New Age theory, alcohol is believed to be the cause of our loss of control of our mind and intellect, which allows black energy, or the satanic stuff, to enter and wreak its black energy havoc. Possessions of the body become more likely, and your inner self can become endangered. And these are the same people, Sean, that say that porn, anger, drugs, tobacco, vaping, weed smoking, cocaine, all of that, all the vices, all of those open you up to demon possession. So life is meant to be one giant drag. Yeah, can't do any of that. So now, in spirit of a booze-fueled episode, I thought I'd share a little poem with you guys, which is based on a classic one, which is about one of our favorite beers, the Stout, or better known as the Pint of Plain. If it's in the dark of night and the spooks are giving you a mighty fright, don't panic. Take a sip. And remember, a pint of plain is your only man. If the grays are a-trying to float you away, chug away those fears, my friend, and remember, a pint of plain is your only man. If you're out with your mates or on a date with the lass, remember, just one will do it, or the devil will possess your ass. So raise that glass the Pixelated Paranormal way, and remember, dear friends, a pint of plain is your only man. Cheers.
Mm-hmm. So what the hell's a pint of plain?
That's what they call stout over in Ireland. They don't call it stout.
Just a plain?
Yeah, you walk up to a bar and be like, hello, give me a pint of plain, mate.
Are we chimney sweeps? God. That's one of your two only,
good day, sir.
Only impressions.
Give me a pint of plain. Cheerio. I really, I suck at accents, but hey, that's what they call it. So they don't call it stout; they call it a pint of plain.
Huh. Well, now you know.
Now you know.
Oh yeah. Well, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I want to try to keep things on a paranormal plane as well, and so I just simply Googled paranormal and beer, trying to find like stories of people who got drunk and got possessed, or got drunk and saw ghosts, and then I realized that's not paranormal; that's just drunk. And then I did actually find a really cool story about a brewery called Atwater Brewing in Detroit. And I've never heard of Atwater. Have you heard of them before?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool. So Atwater Brewing in Detroit has teamed up with Detroit's Detroit Paranormal Expeditions to create a very special beer called Hello from the Other Side. And there's a really, really cool story behind it. See, Atwater Brewing actually, I believe, was built inside of an old church that was made in 1936. And so, according to the people who helped build the brewery and also who actually went to church back when it was actually the Grace United, they said they had a lot of weird instances. Things moving on their own, hearing disenchanted voices, all sorts of weird paranormal activity. And so after the brewery had formed, a lot of the workers inside the brewery also said they experienced some weird phenomenon as well. And so kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of half-serious, Atwater teamed up with Detroit's, what do they call it, Paranormal Expeditions, and they decided to make a beer to help ward off potential evil spirits. So they've made this beer, and they brew it with sage. And sage is actually used to help what, Preston? Ward off evil spirits.
Yeah, ward off evil. That's what you call a cleansing.
I bet it probably cleanses your insides too, huh? I've had a couple of beers with sage in it. It's not too bad if it's done right. But yeah, they said they heard strange noises while the church was being transformed into the brewery. Atwater in the park opened up in 2014, and a priest actually came and blessed the property shortly after. Now, what's kind of interesting, too, is to celebrate this event, this was a couple years back, on a Friday the 13th, the day before they released the beer, the paranormal investigation team came out and actually did a ghost hunt. And they released some footage to a news channel, and it shows a really strange white shape flying through the air before quickly vanishing. So the paranormal team actually showed this to a lot of their other friends who were investigators and some psychics, and everybody kind of came with the general consensus this might have been some kind of angelic entity or an anomaly that was trapped in the church. So people like to think that maybe it was protecting the church and now protects the brewery. But either way, it's kind of a fun story behind Hello from the Other Side, a beer brewed with sage. And that got me thinking, presto.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we should talk about some weird beard. Damn it. Beard on the brain. We should talk about some weird beer.
Yeah.
So the first one, you know what? I misread my notes because it is beard. It is beer. We're going to talk about the first beer on my list, Rogue's Beard Beer. And I think we may have talked about it before. But Rogue Ales, or Rogue Brewing, up in Newport, Oregon, a while back set out to find a local wild yeast to complement the locally sourced hops and grains they use in the beers they make. And basically, they just wanted to kind of, increase the sustainability of their local environment. But they're having a hard time finding different yeasts they could use that would actually, be sustained and actually be usable. So they got this really cool idea. And they decided that their head brewmaster, John Meyer, has been doing beer so much, brewing, drinking, everything else. Well, I wonder if there's some kind of yeast growing in his beard. So they plucked 9 beard hairs from the brewmaster's beard, ran it to an actual testing facility, and they discovered that, yes, there was a wild hybrid yeast strand growing in his beard. So isolating and cultivating this wild yeast strain of a bacteria, while it was difficult, they were able to rediscover and then cultivate this hybrid yeast particle. And they say it could be a hybrid run they use in-house called Pac-Man yeast.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it was a very unique beard yeast they were able to use to make a beard beer. And I don't think that did you try it with us? Did you drink that with Eric and I? I think it was one night when we were in a hotel before a race we ran in Kansas City, but I remember it being pretty good, actually, pretty fruity, kind of a nice light fruity beer. But yeah, I thought that was pretty sweet and a fun story. And then from there, it's a good jumping off point for some other really weird shit that I read about being in beer. Presto, how fond are you of mountain oysters?
Oh, yeah, I've had those before. This is pretty good.
Yeah, mountain oysters, cow balls. Yeah, I've eaten them, you've eaten them. They're pretty tasty as long as you don't hit one of the greasy juice pockets. Sometimes they get filled up in the breading.
Yeah, you hope that's oil and not something else.
Right. Oh, 3 people just threw up while they're driving to work. So, in Wine Coop Brewing, Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout is a beer that they make.
Really?
Yeah. It started off as an April Fool's joke until a lot of people apparently started actually liking the idea of it. So Wine Coop actually made a beer brewed with mountain oysters.
And
pretty decent fan base, but it's going to be pretty, short term as far as how often you can get it. The beer is roasted with barley, 7 specialty grains, Golding hops, and bull testicle. The beer has a 7.2 ABV and a nice meaty flavor. According to the best products, the Denver staple takes about 6.5 hours to brew, is stored for 3 to 4 weeks before it can be served up. And then, of course, you can't buy it anywhere else but from their brewery. So, good luck to you and I trying to get some of that ball beer for here.
Yeah.
But perhaps.
Meaty, that's kind of a weird description. I've never heard that in a beer before. Hey, man, do you want to try my meaty beer? It's got a nice salty meat taste to it.
What kind of notes do you get from that? Well, I get blueberries. There's a little bit of maple in there. Meat. Yeah. It's got a nice meaty finish.
It hits you right in the back of the throat.
It's got a nice amount of meat right back by your uvula.
So I'm going to throw you off track real quick.
Sure.
Because I don't think I saw this listed in the notes, but there's a company in England called Samuel Smith, and they bought an abbey that had sarcophaguses in it, and they
really?
They do open brewing, as though like an open brewing process, and they brewed inside these sarcophaguses for over 500 years. And they keep reusing that same yeast over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And they make a fantastic organic chocolate stout that just will make your toes curl.
I've had that with you on my deck a few times with Eric and your brother. And you're right. It really, really is delicious.
It is. And I don't know, maybe those sarcophaguses had dead people in them, maybe not. But... I'd like to think after 500 years, all that bacteria from the dead dude's gone. So, or maybe that's what adds to those subtle notes.
It could very well be.
Maybe that's what the organic chocolate is.
It could be. It could very well be. I thought about it. I've actually had a meaty stout before.
Yeah.
Chauncey, a friend of ours and listener of the show, Chauncey and I went to Norton's Brewing here in Wichita, and there was a beer called Piglet's Fire Ritual.
Well, I think you
and it is oh god, it was good. It was a smoked maple imperial stout, and it says the list here of ingredients was 50% cherry wood smoked malt. Starts off this bacon inspired extravaganza, then the back sweetening of maple syrup intermingles and dances off your buds. With a post up by a campfire, it is sure to hang out with your palate for days. And dude, you drank it and it tasted like you just drank a really big swig of like a maple stout and then took a giant bite out of like a smoked ham. Like the pork flavor was there. I tried to figure out, like, did they just throw chunks of, like honey ham while they were steeping this or what? But it was almost like the Willy Wonka gumball when you drank this thing, dude. Because you drank it, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of malty, kind of smoky. Oh, there's the maple. That's great. And then you're like, what the fuck is that? Oh my god, it's like Canadian bacon. It was truly delicious. But let's get back to brass balls here. That wasn't the only ball beer you can get, Presto.
Ooh.
There's a family-run Icelandic brewery called, I'm going to butcher this, Stedji, Stedji?
Stedji?
Maybe. And they've been making their own unique seasonal beers for a while now, and they have an all-natural, sugar-free beer called, again, butchering this, Hvular, Hvalur, created back in 2012, and it was made with whale testicles.
Whale testicle.
Whale, that giant douchey mouthful of smoke you blew on your camera was pretty much, a visual representation of your brain just now exploding. Yeah, they brew it with not only whale testicles, Presto, because that's not enough. They actually smoke it in sheep shit.
Wow.
The brew is not only made with whale testicles, but also smoked in sheep excrement. Each batch uses 15 to 18 pounds of testicles, so they're definitely not going to be skimping you on the flavor.
There was that, I can't think of the name of the company now because they don't make it anymore. It was a limited run, but they actually brewed this chocolate beer in elephant shit.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I kind of missed out. I really wish I could have tried that, I guess.
I mean, did you miss out, really?
I don't know. I mean, can we
if we were on the deck,
order this whale nut sheep shit beer online? Possibility.
We'll have to get with the guys over on the podcast because they do pretty much all beer on their podcast and pro wrestling chat as well. But I'll have to check with Evan and see if they've tried any of those before. But I got to say, if we had a bottle of that and we were on the back deck during a Deckapalooza, you and I and Jason and Eric, and if you guys drank it, I would drink it.
Yeah, fuck, why not?
That's not the first beer I've ever said, yeah, I'll drink it if you drink it. You weren't at Craft Beer Fest with Eric and our buddy Adam, but we went to Craft Beer Fest a few years ago, and they had this beer called Ghostface Killa. Oh, man, yep, that's making it in there. Ghostface Killa was only like a 5.2 ABV, but it was brewed with 6 different types of chili peppers. It had ghost pepper, serranos, jalapenos, habaneros, Fresno, and Anaheim peppers.
I actually had that. The Goebel had that in their back cooler.
Oh, God.
And so when I made my custom 6-pack one summer, Jason and I were cooking out on the deck for Mom and Dad, and I drank that, and I can tell you, listeners, that tastes like Chupacabra's dick. Like,
God, yeah, it's fucking brutal. So we went there, and they give you like a little 4-ounce tasting cup, and we all said, all 3 of us said, yeah, let's all try it. So I took a mouthful of it, and then I think Adam and Eric only took a small swig, and we were all like, holy fuck, oh god, that's bad. And I tried to cowboy up, and I chugged the rest of mine. And it was a terrible idea. And then the beauty of the Craft Beer Fest was it had a high ticket price to kind of ward off just people that just wanted to just pound back beer.
Yeah.
And the secret was you could drink as much as you want for 3 hours. So we kept going around talking to the brewers, talking to the different breweries. And somehow or another, I got into a bet whether or not I could drink a whole 2-ounce swig of that stuff. And so I ended up drinking way too much Ghostface Killa. And when Shayla came to pick me up, we decided to go to Ziggy's Pizza and get a taco pizza before we headed home. And we roll up, and I'm just like, oh god, I can't get out of the car, I'm gonna be sick. And I said, you just go inside to get the pizza, I think I'm gonna throw up. And so I rolled the window down, and these 2 dudes, total bros, just come up, and their flat bill hats and their white sunglasses and their brand new shoes, and they're standing right outside my car door just bullshitting about this and bullshitting about that. And so I rolled the window down, and I was like, hey, you guys got to move out of the way. And they're like, oh, what the fuck, man? We got a right to be here, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of talked some shit and kept talking. So finally I was like, get the fuck out of the way. I swear I'm about to throw up. And they're like, yeah, whatever. All this shit. And I'm like, all right. And I lean out the window and just Ralphed all over this dude's shoes. Like brand new kicks. And I mean, 3 hours worth of booze all over this guy's shoes. And they looked up and he looked down at his shoes. He's like, what the fuck, you piece of shit? And I'm like, I fucking told you to move. And I just start barfing again. And then they're just like, oh, and like scuttled off. But yeah, it was pretty nice. I enjoyed that. I have to apologize for dropping that F-bomb back there. That is not me. That is just a direct quote of what that douchebag called me. But yeah, that was my favorite story of how I puked onto douchebag shoes. Yep. Well, because we're a podcast and we do not discriminate, I have to tell you about another special beer, Preston, that's not brewed with testicles.
The vagina beer?
Well, a different vagina beer. Oh. We talked about the one that college brewed up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They cultivated a yeast sample from a vagina and beer with the yeast sample. There is a brewery in Poland, Warsaw, called Order of Yoni. And they launched a beer, I believe, self-titled, called the Order of Yoni. And it's made partially from, quote, the essence of a woman's vagina, better known as lactic acid bacteria. The first batch of beer, which probably won't be our last, we are tasting because, never mind, I misquoted that. But anywho.
Somebody who's really good with the power of the yoni is Amanda Noel on YouTube. And for those
Nobody knows who that is on this show. Maybe they do.
Yeah, I'm just going to, that's basically what we call pussy cream or pussy juice. So.
You could have said, vaginal yeast, Preston.
No, we're just going to go full Amanda Noel and call it like it is.
Yeah, I think she calls it the pussy power, actually. I don't think she calls it a cream. Damn it. But yeah, the Order of Yoni makes beer brewed with a Czech supermodel, saying she is one of the most beautiful women in the world, and she is kind of like what they consider to be the prime specimen. And so they figure she's powerful, she has been successful, she's pretty. So all those things is being brewed into a beer, which captures the true essence of a...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only in Europe, so of course we can't try it here in the States yet, to my knowledge. But
I feel like
another beer.
Out. I can't have whale testicle sheep shit. I can't have elephant shit. I can't have Czech vagina beer. Like... What's going wrong, America?
Yeah, we're stuck with chili pepper beer. Get out of here. Yeah. Hashtag. I was going to say America, but I hate when people say that shit, so never mind.
I think I'm going to brew chili pepper beer and call it Chupacabra's dick and see how many people bite.
Are you going to use some of your vaginal yeast in it?
Oh, yeah.
Called the Fiery Texas Tunnel. Yeah. Well... I think that's a good place to stop it, man. I can read this story from Missing 411 if you want me to.
Fuck it, let's roll. Why not?
Well, no, I don't want to.
No, okay.
Should I?
Yeah, you should.
God. No, I don't think I will. We've already covered it. We'll cover it again. I've got a great book, guys, called Missing 411, A Sobering Coincidence. And it's a lot of disappearances about mostly young men, college-aged, who have disappeared. Their parties around college campuses and whatnot. I was going to read a story about a guy who gets drunk and disappears for like 20 some odd days. I'm going to skip it, though. I don't think I'm going to read it tonight because it's just going to be me reading through it because I didn't actually memorize a story. So that might be kind of disappointing. But yeah, thanks for joining us on this episode. I know it's not, cram-packed full of the normal stuff we talk about, but like I said before, it's partly because we didn't have time to record the episode like we wanted to because we got to do some more research and it would have just been incomplete. And also, we want to see if this is going to work so we can post this on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
So there you go.